Yo, what's up, everybody? We got to talk about something. Let's just get right into it. This is a letter that was sent out to a variety of custom game creators. This is a legitimate letter, we know this, because it's been sent to a bunch of people, each independently. It reads Dota Workshop / monetization complaint. Hello, I am part of Valve's legal team. It has come to our attention that you are monetizing your Dota custom game through third party payment methods, including in game purchases, Patreon rewards, and in game currency top ups. As you will be aware, the license provided for the Dota Workshop tools is strictly non commercial. We have to ask that you stop selling virtual items for your custom game immediately and report to us the scope of your monetization broken down by territory and payment method by August 17th, 2023. Thank you. So, obviously, this is kind of a big deal. Let's just kind of tackle it from the top. What this says is that monetization is now no longer allowed in the arcade. Let's maybe begin by kind of just having a look at the arcade and seeing what games would be impacted by this. Well, all of them. Now, if we look at this page right here, these are the top 10 most popular custom games in the Dota 2 arcade. These are all games that get regular updates, are maintained, have ranking systems, and just kind of are a bit of a higher standard, if I may say so. And all of them use monetization, and they all can't anymore. It's just kind of been shut down for all of them. If we look at page 2, there we still see a lot of custom games that use monetization, right? Dawn of War, Ability Arena, Watch of Samsara. I'm not sure about Legion TD, but I'm guessing this Chinese one here for sure. This one I know. I'm not sure about this one, but All Random, All Mid, definitely. Guarding Athena, Gem TD. So, a lot of them. A lot of the big popular custom games in the arcade have some sort of monetization attached to them. Even smaller games, right? Like you can continue going here, but Custom Hero Arena, right? World of Dota, Trolls versus Elf. So these are all games that kind of to a certain extent have a monetization and somewhat rely on it. Now, why is monetization important? I think this might be a bit of an obvious point, but I feel like it needs to go said. It needs to be said. We need to clarify this point. People gotta eat, and making games is important. Is expensive. Sorry. Apologies if I mixed up some words and then get a little bit rambly today. It is nearly 11 p.m., but I didn't really get around to making this video earlier because I wanted to make sure that other people can publish their stuff first, right? I was kind of waiting for other people to do things before I publish anything so that I don't step on any toes and so on. So yeah, it's kind of late for me, but I will try to stay on track, promise. Anyway, to get back on track. So games are expensive to make. They are extremely expensive to make, like overwhelmingly expensive to make. I think this is a big problem with like the gaming industry in general. Of course, I kind of come from a different perspective, right? Because I actually, I have worked on a variety of different games. This is not meant to be some sort of brag. I'm not trying to say I'm some sort of industry veteran. I am not. But I also have some experience with this, right? I'm not entirely new to it either. And in that regard, if I may just say so, I think people really struggle to conceptualize just how expensive games are to make, how much effort needs to go into them, and just like what it takes to make a game. It is way more than you think. It is, again, very difficult to quantify. It is something that really you can really only appreciate if you have experienced it. And that's the difficult part of it, right? Like, I pride myself on my communication skills. This is not meant to be a brag, but it's just something that I think I'm kind of good at. But even I struggle to explain to you why making games is so difficult. It's just that there are so many different pieces that all connect, and every time you change one thing, every time you add one feature, everything needs to be updated. Because video games aren't just one bit of code in isolation and a separate bit of code in isolation and a bit of art in isolation and a bit of music in isolation, a bit of sound effects in isolation. All of these things are always connected. And because they're always connected, if you want to add something, you got to connect it to everything. If you want to remove it, you need to remove it from everything. If you want to change something, update something, everything is always just kind of you know, that's the tricky part. It's games are a whole, but they still need to be created by people. And one person can often not do it because so many different aspects go into making a game. Now, this is true for both custom games and for regular video games. But for regular video games, for, standalone releases, this is a bit more because you need to make art, you need to make sound effects, you need to make music. For custom games, one of the big advantages of custom games is that you don't really have to do that, right? You can use what's given. You have already working controls, you have models that you can use, sound effects, music, lots of things that are in the Dota client that you have access to. So it makes custom games custom games make for a really good starting point. A lot of people have found their beginning in terms of making games with custom games. And there's a lot of value to that, I think, right? It's a great place to learn. However, if we think specifically about the Dota arcade, of course, Dota is a game that has certain expectations kind of placed upon it. If you are in the Dota space, there are going to be certain things that people want from you if you're trying to make a popular game. And this is where we kind of need to differentiate, I think, between certain tiers of custom game, right? Let's have a look at something like Dota 1x6. Dota 1x6, I think, is what I would describe as a large-scale custom game. This is a custom game that is big and popular, but is also a game that aims to be big and popular, and is also a game that aims to really be a large-scale modification of Dota 2. Right? While it is similar to Dota 2 and it bases a lot of its elements on Dota, it is also very different, and a lot of work and a lot of development over a lot of time has gone into it. Now, if we compare that to something else, right? If we just go in here, just compare it to like a basic Dota bot. For example, this right here. This is Dota 2, but it's unplayable garbage. This was made by Luminance. This game... Well, you can see from the title. This is not a game that Luminance made with the intent of necessarily getting a lot of players, not necessarily with the intent of maintaining it in the future, just because she thought it was funny and made it, and then we played it and it was kind of funny, and that's it. There's no expectation for this to continue existing, really, right? It's fine. It's just a mode that was made really quick and then we're moving on from it. Now, in the Dota arcade, those are really the only two kinds of games that can exist. When we're talking about custom games, people will often compare Dota to something like Minecraft maybe, or for example, Roblox or Warcraft 3. StarCraft, those are the big ones, right? Warcraft 3 is a really big one. However, it's actually a flawed comparison that doesn't really work. And I think it's really important to understand why it doesn't work. Because if I were to make a game, let's just even say a standalone game, then that game exists, right? For example, I made Disasters Online like a few years ago, like 5 years ago. It's been a while. And I honestly haven't touched it since then. And it still exists, though. You can still go play it, right? It's a standalone game. Warcraft 3 was similar to that, and a lot of custom game platforms are similar to that, where if I go into Warcraft 3 and I make a custom game now, then it will just continue existing. I don't have to continue updating it, I don't have to maintain it, it just exists. Great. How convenient is that, right? And so if I want to keep making silly custom games, I can just keep doing that. Or if I want to make something a bit bigger, right? Maybe something that's a bit more medium-sized, not necessarily small, not necessarily large, but something that has some elements to it. I can also do that and then invest my effort, and then my game exists. So maybe it gathers a small audience and it just kind of exists there. And it can't do that in Warcraft 3, and it just is fine. But in Dota, Dota has the problem that it is also an active game, right? It's not just a custom game platform. Dota is also Dota, one of the most popular games in the world. Dota gets played and Dota gets updated. And because Dota gets updated, I feel like I've said Dota so many times now that I lost all meaning. Because Dota gets updated, that means that if I were to make a small, or let's say my medium-sized little game that I spent some weeks working on, I upload it into the arcade, and then I just kind of want to have it and be able to come back to it every once in a while, but I also don't want to have to keep focusing on it, Well, as soon as the next patch rolls around, there's about, I would say, anywhere from a 50 to 70% chance that it's just dead, unless I fix it. It's because when Dota does its updates, they don't really pay that much attention to whether or not the arcade games survive the update. So if we were to go into the arcade, you can see there's 588 pages of custom games here. But if I go back far enough, they will just stop working, right? Like they will just not really function anymore, because Valve doesn't really prove things for that, right? So if we go here, you can see on page 47, we find Ability Arena. Cool. Why is Ability Arena still playable? Well, because it still continues to get updated. But if I were to try to play Dota 2 but elemental damage, well, probably wouldn't work anymore because the last update was on the 29th of September 2022, right? It would just kind of not function properly. Ability Arena, however, last update, 4th of August. This is one that probably still works, right? So there is a range of, there is a certain requirement for custom game creators to maintain their game modes repeatedly. Now, this is something that is fine if you have a game mode that is a large-scale game mode because you're trying to maintain it anyway, right? But if you're just trying to make something like of a more medium scope or you want to have multiple games that you're working on, right, then you can't really because it just becomes overwhelming. It just becomes a lot of work. And even if you have one large-scale game, it becomes a lot of work just to maintain the games. There's other things that go into maintaining a game. There, for example, if I want to have matchmaking in any sort of capacity, or if I want to have ranking in any sort of capacity, well, that requires servers, right? Because like Dota doesn't offer servers. That's just not something Dota provides. And let me be clear here. I don't think Dota needs to provide servers. They provide servers for playing, but I don't think they need to provide servers that are external servers to run ranking systems on. That is not what I am saying, but I'm saying that that's something that's kind of expected, right? If I want to play 1x6, a lot of people play ranked 1x6, and as they play ranked 1x6, they like seeing the number go up. If I play Ability Arena isn't exactly a very competitive game, right? But it still has a ranking system because Monkey Brain likes when number goes up. That's just kind of a part of it. People expect ranking systems. And if a game mode doesn't have a ranking system, it immediately feels a lot worse. Well, it turns out having a ranking system costs money. Just straight up, because you need to store the data somewhere. You need to have a server somewhere, right? And even something really cheap for basically no players can actually add up to pretty decent server costs. For example, I pay $25 a month for a server for a game that doesn't really have any players, but I just kind of want to make sure that if somebody were to stumble into it, they can play it. But turns out just to have a server at all will run you a little bit, right? It's just how it is. And those are just kind of unavoidable costs if you want to maintain your games. So the Dota arcade isn't like something like Warcraft 3. It's an entirely different beast because it doesn't necessarily allow for anything kind of medium term to exist. It only allows for really short-term, small projects that are meant to be played and then thrown away, where it doesn't hurt if they get destroyed in the future by passive patches, or for large-scale projects that have a lot of effort put into them and are continuously maintained. However, for something to be continuously maintained, that costs money, right? Because you need developers. It's just that simple. Of course, you can do it all by yourself, but well, as we just said, like you can really only have like a bigger project that really functions, but now you need time, and time is money, right? All of the effort you invest into something is money in a way. And of course, you can now make the argument, well, custom games are just supposed to be a hobby project. But let me promise you one thing, right? If all the arcade was hobby projects, we would not have this list of games. 1x6 wouldn't exist. It couldn't. It could not exist. And I like 1x6. I want it to exist. And I think it's fine for Zeno to be able to make money off of his game so he can continue working on it. Because ultimately, that's what he's trying to do. He just wants to kind of keep making his game and put food on the table. And I think those are fine desires to have. Why can't he live his best life? But if I may also say, I think it's fine for something like OMG 4+2 to exist. This is a very explicitly monetized game that is very explicitly commercial. This is a game that was made with a large marketing budget that was aimed at largely a Chinese audience and had a lot of players immediately as a result and has been popular since then. And this was a game that was made to make money. I think that's fine. I think it's also fine for games like Custom Hero Clash to exist. Custom Hero Clash is explicitly commercial. It has pay-to-win elements. And this is where I'm going to say something controversial myself, which I think are fine. I do not mind for there to be pay-to-win elements. This is probably going to be sounding a bit hypocritical coming from me. But this is just where, the capitalist argument of the free market applies, right? Everybody always wants to argue for the free market, and this is the prime example of it as far as I'm concerned. Somebody makes a game and then monetizes it. And if people like the game and want to play it with the monetization, then that's fine, even if the monetization is maybe not the best, right? Personally, I think a pay-to-win monetization is way more ethical than like a gacha monetization or a battle pass-based one. Battle passes are explicitly designed to exploit certain aspects of our brain to drain as much money out of them as we can. As much money out of us as they can. And, yeah, sure, pay-to-win, okay, is obviously not great, but you gotta make money somehow. Now, personally, I think the best way to make money with games is to just sell the games, but obviously that doesn't really work. Now, no, or at least not in this situation, right? But for me personally, I'm only planning to make games that we're just gonna sell. But anyway, so, let's address one more point here. As you will be aware, the license provided for the Dota Workshop tours is strictly non-commercial. This contradicts what I just said, right? This says, well, Baumi, you said it's fine for things to be commercial. We say it's not. We don't want that. And let me go ahead and say this right away. Yeah, that's their right. Like, Valve can obviously just say that. It's their game. They can just say, well, fuck it. We don't want that commercial shit here. Okay. I don't really have an argument against that. If they just don't want it, then they don't want it, right? They might have a specific reason for it. It doesn't list that. It's a little weird that this comes now instead of, earlier. I have heard some rumors as to why this is. Please, this is third-hand knowledge, but I'm sure some of you are curious, so I might as well share like a bit of my third-hand knowledge. But we've actually known that something like this could be coming for a while now. And we think, or from what I've heard, it's GDPR related. Like it's got privacy protection issues that have caused the whole dilemma. Again, I don't have any hard evidence. I don't have any evidence. This is just what I heard. So this might not be true. So take that with a grain of salt. But anyway. So Valve is obviously obviously has the right to just say we don't want that. However, here's my counter argument. I like Custom Hero Clash. I like 1x6. I think they're cool games, right? And again, without the ability to monetize these games would not exist. It is that simple. They just couldn't. They could not exist. They require too much time. They require too much upkeep. They require too much cost, like just raw money, to be here. Now, let's go over to a Reddit thread here. So this is a Reddit thread. Now, I should probably disclose that I helped these guys write this text. I didn't write the, I sort of wrote the text. I basically proofread it. I proofread it and I edited it, but I mostly kept the message what they wanted to say, right? It's just that the original version had a lot of frustration in it, and I helped take that out a little bit. But at the end of the day, this isn't my core text. This is somebody else's text that I edited for them. I did that as a favor to them. So just kind of reads a little bit better. You can read the text yourself. You can find it on the Dota 2 subreddit if you want. I will only focus on a few bits here. So, this is stuff that I've already talked about, right? But they are. Here we go. This is where I was going. So what they are saying is they don't want the previous style of monetization to continue existing either. So the way games have been monetized up to this point in the arcade is actually quite sketch. A lot of them are actually illegal. I said this before. I've brought this up like a while ago already. But me and Dr. Teaspoon at one point, we were kind of thinking about maybe setting up a custom game. And we were curious. We weren't, so when I say we were thinking about it, we were basically just kind of like shooting shit, We're just like, could we do this? I guess, maybe, I don't know. You get what I mean, right? So we just kind of did some preliminary research into like how would you actually set up monetization in the arcade. And as part of that, I actually went and read the terms of services of a lot of the payment providers that they use, particularly the Chinese payment providers, like WePay, for example. And turns out that you can't use them for games. It's just not allowed to. I went and after I read the terms of service, I was like, okay, well, let me maybe just like email them and ask. And they're like, no, not for games. And I'm like, okay, all right. But a lot of games in the arcade do use it. So there are problems with the monetization as it exists. That is definitely true and definitely not ideal. So what they say here, what they are asking for is they don't want to just continue with this like Wild West style of monetization. Instead, they want an official way to monetize our games. If player could use their Steam wallets for purchases in the arcade, it would be best for all parties. I like giga agree with that, right? It's super obvious. Custom game developers can continue working on their passion projects. The players get to use a much safer and proven method of purchasing, and Valve gets a cut. A similar system called the Custom Games Pass existed for a while, but this was unfortunately left behind. Now, this thread here brings up a lot of the points that I already brought up. And I'm mostly here because I wanted to have a quick little look at the responses to it. Just because I thought that they bring up some points that I would like to talk about that I think are bad. So, here is something I already said, like title stomach giving arcade devs monetization options through Steam seems reasonable, right? Like that's good. The title here is the Dota 2 arcade is being forced to shut down. This is definitely a sensational title, which maybe I am to blame for. I gotta admit, they gave me a document with a title, and I just edited the title to like read better, but I didn't edit it for content. And now that I think about it, I probably should have edited it for content. I somehow didn't really consider that they would post it with literally that title. It is definitely a sensationalist title, 100%. But I don't think it's fundamentally untrue. Because, well, yes, the arcade will continue existing. This arcade will not. It will be an entirely new arcade with all of these games gone, right? This will just, I mean, maybe they exist in maintenance mode. Maybe they get an update a year. Maybe they get a few here and there, right? But it will be entirely different. It won't be the same whatsoever. It could be better. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, some people are upset here, right? So here, I'm sick of the pay-to-win shit in the arcade. It's completely ruined it for me. I think it's a good thing games won't be able to give extra stats and items to you for real money. It's fucking annoying. Ruins any custom game for me that has that. I always think this is such a weird argument because just like, don't play the games, right? Like, isn't that fine? This is such a strange argument to me because this reads to me, right? Like, I don't like Game X. So I think they should all die. It's really weird. I don't like League of Legends, so it should die. Oh, I guess. I don't know. I don't think I necessarily agree with that. Like, I think if you don't like a game, you just, don't play it, right? But that's a lot of this, right? Stop making pay to win shit and this wouldn't have happened. Genuinely, absolutely delusional, right? If you think that this comes because of pay to win, I, I don't know. I don't know. It's just like you can't possibly actually believe that, right? Not everyone makes custom games to reap profits, right? So this is an interesting sentence. This is what I think it's a very hostile sentence because it's the kind of attitude, right, that assumes that everything is the same, right? It assumes that an individual like Zeno making a passion project is the same as a large scale company. I don't know, like making like a predatory mobile game, right? It assumes that those are the same thing. And that's just not really true. I think scope is something that's really important to consider when talking about nearly everything, right? But particularly when talking about money, particularly when talking about projects, scope is crucially important because scope defines just like what we're talking about, right? Like, I don't know. It's just weird to me. It's a weird attitude. But yeah. Right. And some people are luckily replying with stuff that is quite sensible. All right. This just happened when Valve gives people freedom and they take it too far. Valve has to step in, deal with it in a classic Valve way. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Probably unpopular opinion, but asking for money on a mod or custom game is just horrible. Even in Skyrim, mobs are a passion project, and absolutely no way should their content ever be put behind a paywall as they're being hosted on a well-known game in the first place, right? But that doesn't happen. There's actually no content that's paywalled that I can really think of. I guess if you count something like the pay-to-win elements as being paywalled, right? This is just like what it seems to come down to. People are so aggressive towards the pay-to-win stuff, and I find it really strange. I find it really, really strange, right? There's a deep hatred towards people who paywall their mods and for good reason. What would that reason be? People who make these want to give to the community, and through that example, others like me eventually give back to the community with either small or bigger mods. But like, why can't you monetize your work? This is something where I think it's really strange. The internet at this point is so full of creative workers that are doing independent work and monetizing it. I mean, you better believe I'm running ads on this. Right? But like, I just uploaded a video for Stories of Dota that had an ad for Raid Shadow Legends in it. All right? You think I put that there for love of the game? Like, that's there because it makes money. Like, I get paid for that ad, right? There are people that make custom artwork for Magic the Gathering cards, and you can order from them, and then they will print you a fake copy of that card. Well, like a fake copy, right? Like a proxy copy of that card. And you can buy that from them directly, right? People have Etsy stores where you can buy all kinds of stuff. I once went on Fiverr and I ordered Mickey a little custom plushie of a Tamagotchi for her birthday, right? And it's just somebody who has their little Fiverr store and is making money off of that, right? And I don't understand why custom games are different. Like, creative work is stigmatized in a way that is really strange. Because, like, as somebody who's worked in entertainment, which is what I do, right, for a long time, I've had to deal with people saying, "Oh, it's not a real job," or it's not something that really contributes to society, or something like that. I've had to deal with that a lot, and I mean, it doesn't like hurt me, right? If you want to hurt me, you gotta be mean to my projects, not to me. You can be mean to me all you want. Oh no, I shouldn't have given that away. Anyway, but uh, the thing about that is that entertainment is part of life, right? Do you not like a good TV show? I mean, I personally watch way more YouTube than I watch any sort of TV, and I really enjoy it. Right? There's lots of YouTube channels that I've seen the videos of multiple times just because I think they're really fun. And entertainment and taking a break and living life are an essential component of, like making it through life. But then somehow the creative people that are making those products aren't allowed to monetize their things. It's not like an artist or somebody who makes a YouTube video is making bank off of it. I am not rich, right? Like the lady that I ordered the Tamagotchi from isn't fucking drowning in cash because of it. Zeno isn't building a bunker full of money. He just wants to eat. What's wrong with that? He wants to eat and live and maybe have a bit to spare, save for the future. Right? If people are playing the games, why can't you make money off of it? I don't understand it, right? But maybe I'm right. This is such a weird attitude to me, and I'm mostly like bringing up this thread here, right? That here, look, I even replied to something here. If your business is based on other people's IPs, it's not a safe business. This is much different than third-party Twitter apps shutting down. Such a weird take because like this wasn't a good thing, right? All right, so I said, I suppose, but is what's happening a good thing? Nobody's disputing that Valve has the right to do this, but instead they're asking that Valve reconsider, right? And then, yes, it is. Okay, I guess. I mean, if you think that, right? Like Reddit third-party apps, there was a whole giant protest about that. Although, weirdly enough, my Reddit app still works, and I don't know why. I'm still using. I think Reddit is fun, and it's just still working. But anyway, it's really weird. It's really weird. I think it's such a shame because it's like one of those things where the only way you could really make a dent here, right, is if you convince Valve that the people care about it. But the people seem more upset at irrelevant shit. And I don't think it's actually the people because the arcade has a lot of players. Like the Dota 2 arcade is one of the most popular games in the world. I am not joking. If we look at the Dota 2 arcade in isolation, we just look at the players of it alone, it is like top 20 on Steam. It's a massive, massive like ecosphere. It's actually huge, right? But you go on the Reddit thread and everybody just seems upset at pay to win, and I'm just like, it's really frustrating to me. I mean, like, it's not like I'm somebody that would put it into my game, right? No, actually, probably, I don't know. It's not something that I am a big appreciator of either. But I think at the end of the day, you gotta make food, right? I don't know. Anyway, what does this mean going forward? What does this mean for us? Well, I'm not entirely sure. We'll see how the arcade develops. There's a few games that I expect are just gonna go away. Right, they'll stop being maintained. I think everything from Arcadia Redux is just gonna die. That would be my guess. Ability Arena, from what I can tell, Sunsfan knew about this for a while longer. And I'm not trying to like be hostile towards him. Please don't understand it in that way, but I'm just saying. An Ability Arena has already not been gotten updated since the 7th of June. So quite a while. There's currently a protest running. If we launch 1x6. Oh. This is not what I had in mind, but like, let me just host a lobby by myself. But if you launch 1x6, it actually doesn't like work properly because it loads into this black screen, which is a bit of a protest to try and, yeah, there you go, to try and get people's attention. All right, you can click here, and I think it takes you to the document. Ah, yeah. Wait, why did you link this? Ah, no, there you go. Yeah, this is, this just takes you to like a document here, which just is that same text. All right, yeah. So one of the good things, I guess, for us here, right? Let's be selfish for a moment. Let's talk about us. A lot of our games aren't impacted. As we already pointed out, the Dota bots, well, Dota bots were never there to make money, right? So what we did was already fine. That isn't going to change. And if we look at the games we often play, Boosted, MG Mod, Legends of Dota, they weren't monetized either, right? Tax may cost spell. So for our purposes, actually, we should probably be fine. But it still hurts me. I still think this is a real shame. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what can be said to convince Valve otherwise, right? Like, let me just be a little bit honest. I think this here isn't gonna go anywhere, right? Like, this is something that needed community support that it didn't get. And it also is asking for stuff, while I don't think like we really fully understand why Valve is even acting now, right? Like, why now? Because like, it's not like this monetization hasn't been around for years. This entire companies, formed and existed for years because of the monetization of the arcade. And now it's a problem all of a sudden, right? That seems unlikely that just came out of nowhere. Like, I think people saying it's pay to win, that's nonsense. I don't think it's because Valve is necessarily trying to set up their own system, although that would be the optimistic read. Maybe they're trying to set up their own system. One thing that's kind of weird about this letter here is that they're asking for a report of the scope of the monetization by territory and payment method. So that's why I kind of think there's a chance that they might be looking to implement their own system, right? The best case scenario, the best thing that can happen is that Valve says, okay, let's just go and set up proper monetization methods for the people. And maybe they are like using this message to kind of check. But we're talking about Valve here, right? They are not as money motivated as other companies. They're money motivated in a different way. They're a bit weird, is what I'm saying. Valve is a bit weird and they're a bit unpredictable. Yeah. I think there's some catalyst, right? Like privacy protection, that kind of makes sense to me. There's some lawsuit that's maybe happening. I don't know. I just think there's something different going on, and I wonder what it is. Anyway, 40 minutes. Holy shit. I gotta go to bed. I'll go upload this first. Yeah. I guess that's all I really have to say about this. I feel like I'm kind of going in circles now. We're just gonna continue on doing what we've been doing. We'll continue making Dota bots, and hey, maybe there's a world where this works out to the best. I mean, I don't really believe in that. Unfortunately, we do live in a capitalist society. All of the fucking assholes that are always talking about the free market get immediately upset as soon as the free market actually is being enacted upon. within capitalism, you just cannot actually want to succeed within capitalism. That is frowned upon, right? Like, you are supposed to get money. If you make money, that is good, but you're not supposed to want to make money. That is tacky. You're supposed to exist just for the sake of existing, but your existence is warranted, allowed only by capitalist desires. But you may not indulge in those desires yourself. How the fuck does that make sense? Sorry. Society is weird. We live in a society. I'm gonna go ahead and put on my Joker mask and wake Mickey up and scare her to death. I don't have a Joker mask. Oh man, late night Baumi is getting a little unhinged. Anyway, I think what I should do is I should take my pile of magic cards and play with them and shut the fuck up. Hey, there's a world this works out for us. We see lots of small games popping up. Maybe Dr. Teaspoon can teach the world his systems. Know how to make games that don't break, because Dr. Teaspoon is mastered that art. That lazy son of a bitch. Dr. Teaspoon will go out of his way to do so much more work so he doesn't have to do any work. It's just the most programmer thing in the world, goddamn. He's future-proofed all of his games. It's really cool, actually, but anyway, it's not the topic of today. Right, it also doesn't work for everything. It only works for his style of games. Anyway, setting that aside, yeah, now we've talked about it. It sucks. I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is. I'll see you guys tomorrow.